Okay, I'm Dr. Heidi Dempsey, and I'm a psychology professor here at JSU. And my 7 research students have spent the last semester working on looking at the dark personality traits and various things that are related to those. So this is the last in the group of 7 presentations on dark personality traits. Katherine is specifically interested in the relationship between psychopathy, Machiavellianism, aggression, and moral taboos. So go for it.
Yes. So as Dr. Dempsey said, I'm going to be discussing the correlations between psychopathy, Machiavellianism, aggression, and moral taboos. So psychopathy can be marked by callousness, a lack of remorse, and is oftentimes associated with aggressive behaviors and sometimes even criminal tendencies. Now, Machiavellianism is similar to psychopathy in some respects. However, it's its own thing. It's the personality trait that signifies manipulation and that drive to use whatever means necessary to gain power. So, in previous research, studies from the likes of Graham and Haidt, Jonasson and Webster and more have shown that individuals higher in these dark personality traits are more likely to have a personality disorder, such as antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. In the current study, however, we collected data from 207 undergraduate college students, and we first hypothesized that students higher in Machiavellianism would be less likely to, or would require less money to violate moral taboos. We did this using the short dark tetrad, or the SD4, and the dirty dozen, as well as the sacredness scale. So for the first thing, the participants were given prompts using the taboo trade-off items with things such as kick a dog in the head hard and punch an annoying person. And they were to tell us how much money it would take for them to do these things, if any at all. Now, looking at Table 1, correlations between Machiavellianism and taboo trade-off items, our hypothesis was partially supported. So, unfortunately, the SD4 was not significant with any of the taboo trade-off items, which were harm, fairness, in-group, authority, and purity, which that was not what we expected. However, with the dirty dozen, it was quite interesting as it was only slightly correlated with 2 of the taboo trade-off items, which were harm and fairness. However, it was not significant with the rest of the taboo trade-off items. And we're not entirely sure why this happened, and we found it kind of questionable as it only was significant with 2 of the taboo trade-off items. But we think that it may have something to do with the measure that we use, some idiosyncrasies within that, but I will go more into detail on that momentarily. So we also hypothesized that students higher in psychopathy would self-report more aggressive behaviors. Again, we used the SD4 and the dirty dozen, and this time the Bus-Perry aggression questionnaire, or the BPAQ. Again, participants were given prompts from the BPAQ, things like, I get into fights a little more than the average person, and I wonder why sometimes I feel so bitter about things. In this second table, correlations between psychopathy and aggression, our hypothesis was actually fully supported. So we have everything that we wanted to see here. As expected, the strongest correlations across both measures of the SD4 and the dirty dozen were with physical aggression, and that perfectly aligns with some of the hallmark traits of psychopathy. Also, our BPAQ domains were physical aggression, verbal aggression, anger, and hostility. We found it really interesting that with verbal aggression, there was actually a slightly stronger correlation in the dirty dozen than with the SD4, but nevertheless, they were still significant across both measures and moderately correlated. And as far as anger and hostility goes, same thing, they were significant across both measures and just slightly correlated at slightly lower levels than the latter 2. Now, overall, we know that our data do support the hypothesis that we made regarding psychopathy and aggression, and we are aware that when it comes to Machiavellianism and the moral taboos, we were introduced to a layer of complexity, and our results were not completely consistent with our hypothesis. However, we think that this really stresses the importance of further research to be done to really comprehend these results. As for limitations of the study, which might help to better understand what happened possibly with the correlations between Machiavellianism and taboo trade-off items, these could include some potential idiosyncrasies within the short dark tetrad measure that we used that could have affected data precision, as well as the generalizability of the study. They may have been compromised, as we did have a predominantly young college student sample with a mean age of 19.93 and a skewed gender distribution, because we had approximately 76% of participants identify as female and approximately 20% identify as male. And we know from past research that males typically are higher in these dark personality traits. Also, this was an online survey, so this could have something to do with altering response patterns and decreased attentiveness, as well as it being quite a lengthy survey, as you heard from some of my fellow research members. This could have really impacted the response. It could have contributed to respondent fatigue and inaccuracy in the participants' answers. So these limitations should be acknowledged when interpreting these results, and I think that it is very important for future research to be done to really address these constraints and enhance the robustness of our findings.
Questions for our speaker?
So I saw where you were going with your questionnaire, your moral taboos. So I'm assuming there was like a list of moral taboos y'all had for your questions and how y'all selected those?
Yes, there was like these taboo trade-off items. So there were different questions or not questions, but like prompts, I guess. Like I said, there was harm, fairness, in-group, authority, and purity. And there was different things, and I don't know, Dr. Dempsey may be able to better explain this, but like they differed, like kiss a gay person of the same gender on the lips and kick a dog in the head and hard, that kind of thing. That there was so many of them.
I guess my question was, how did y'all select what questions to use? What moral taboos to put on your survey? I guess that was my.
It was from the sacredness scale, I believe.
Did y'all just use all of them, or did y'all select some? I guess that's.
So we used Graham Heider's sacredness scale from 2012, except we took out 2 or 3 of their purity items that seemed kind of weird, because that's been one of the criticisms, is that purity is often just a weirdness scale, like cook your dog and eat it. And they're like, what? Like, that's not weird, I mean, that's just weird. So we added some that we thought were more relevant for the South, like kiss a gay person on the lips. So it's 95% their scale and 5% slightly less weird purity items.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you said kick a dog in the head. I'm sitting there going, one of my things is I have aquariums and I don't want people tapping on the aquariums.
Right.
And like, I want to know how to get it to be a moral taboo to keep people from tapping.
Right.
Just add that question next time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they have 5 different sort of aspects of this. So whether or not something causes harm to another person, whether or not something causes unfairness and inequality, whether or not you are violating sort of the social order and authority, whether or not you are causing harm to your in-group, and whether or not you're causing harm for purity. So their moral foundations research suggests that all of these aspects are part of your morality. So the taboos are specific to those 5 aspects of morality, but they don't accomplish all sort of moral areas. It's specific to those 5 foundations that they were studying. So.
All right, other questions for our speaker?
So you talked about your between Machiavellianism and moral taboos that you didn't quite see what you wanted to see from your hypothesis. So my question is, if you were to have the opportunity to go forward and redo your hypothesis, what might you try to change within your hypothesis or experimentation to test for what you want to see?
Well, I think whenever I went into this, I kind of thought, okay, Machiavellianism and the moral taboos will possibly go hand in hand, as Machiavellianism has to do with manipulation and opportunistic behaviors and things like that. So I thought they would correspond fairly well, but I think if I had another time to do this, I may not use the moral taboos with Machiavellianism, just because I think it could have been confusing, possibly, and not made too much sense to participants about like what exactly, like why they were answering those questions. But yeah, I would use something else with Machiavellianism.
As a follow-up, do you think maybe age played a factor?
Definitely, yes. I definitely think because so many of our participants were younger, they may not, of course, know what any of this means, and also not have the, I guess, not sense, but they may not be able to grasp what, that this is like actual things that people feel, and